The hidden costs of filing taxes, tax preparation as a whole, and an emphasis on filing late. Now, there's also a cost to filing too early. I tell people all the time, if you file too early, then you didn't give yourself time to gather all your documents, so you will leave money on the table. But filing too late sometimes comes with its fees as well, especially if it's beyond April 15th. Well, shout out to Tax Dome in this article, because I'm going to break down some things that I feel you can benefit from. And if you have not filed your taxes yet, consider checking out the link below, where I give you access to tax experts who can help you take full control of your tax situation, no matter what that tax situation may be. So here's some key takeaways that I want you to get from this video, so that way you have an understanding of everything I'm referring to. So several factors affect the cost of tax preparation, including the complexity of the job, your geographical location, and whether it's for individual or business. Whether it's better to engage a professional tax preparer or do it yourself will depend on the specifics of the job as well as your budget. And if you stay to the end, I'll show you the pros and cons to both. Working with a professional tax preparer can cost between $200 to $800 for individual tax returns, depending on complexity, but you should pay close attention to fee structures and hidden costs. DIY tax preparation can cost up to $100, depending on the software you use, but there are risks associated with taking on more complex tax returns yourself, because not everybody should be preparing taxes for individuals, and not even for yourself in some cases, depending on the complexity. And there are several ways to save on tax filing costs, such as taking advantage of early bird discounts and the IRS free file service for those of you who qualify for that. But I'll let you know what I personally feel is one of the best methods in order for you to get the most out of your tax preparation experience this year. That being said, let's keep going. So when the tax deadline looms, many individuals and businesses seek a tax professional to help them prepare and file their income tax return. Deciding to engage a professional is usually an early decision. Taxes is a complex matter, and mistakes or oversight can result in major issues down the line. And as it gets closer to April 15th, people are really rushing, and sometimes that causes delays in other areas. But what isn't always an easy decision to make, however, is which tax professional to work with. And cost is one of the most important factors to consider when choosing. Now, this is what I don't want you to do. I don't want you to associate costs as in something that you want to just price gouge or see if you can get the cheapest person, because sometimes you get what you pay for. When you go for the cheapest, you get the cheapest work, and sometimes you have to pay on the back end because it wasn't done properly. But I'm not saying you want to overpay, but just understand what comes with it. And knowing the cost shouldn't be the only factor. It's about the thoroughness and what you're trying to achieve. If you know you want to legally lower your tax liability, then make sure you're conversing with someone who can teach you what you can be doing to legally lower your tax liability, which positions you to not owe in taxes if you're likely to owe, and or positions you to get a larger refund. So it's all about what you're wanting and making sure that your tax professional understands what you're wanting and giving you the value you feel you need, the support you feel you need in order to execute on what it is that you want. So let's dive in. So factors affecting tax preparation costs: type of tax return, complexity of tax return, geographical location, expertise, and experience. So no two tax returns are the same. Some are straightforward, others are highly complex. In this section, we'll look at the key factors to dictate how much you'll likely be charged for your tax return. So individual versus business. Obviously, if you're an individual just filing your taxes, it's going to be different from someone who has a business. Business is more complex. For those of you who have a business, it's a big opportunity because there are tons of tax deductions that you can benefit from that allows you to pay less in taxes legally and keep more of your money. If you're not in business, strongly consider having some type of business, even if it's online, even if it's content creation. You positioning yourself to have an online business, even as a sole proprietor, which a lot of people don't talk about, but even as a sole proprietor can position you to get over 400 tax deductions, which helps you put more money back into your pocket. Many people will overpay millions of dollars just because they don't have a tax strategy. Don't let that be you. Individual tax returns tend to be much simpler, especially for those with relatively basic income sources. As a result, the service is always almost cheaper or almost always cheaper. Business tax returns are more complex, as we discussed. Complexity of the tax return. So the more complicated your finances are, the more likely you are to pay, and that just makes sense. So switching between self-employment and employment during the tax year can create complexity. Having multiple income streams can create complexity. Income derived from capital gains, dividends, or other passive income can add complexity, and having multiple tax deductions or benefits can add complexity, which is why you may want to have a professional to do it versus you doing it yourself. But if you understand tax deductions, then you also understand whatever the cost is, quote unquote, that you're paying for the tax services, that's also tax deductible as well. So what you're paying for your tax service is tax deductible. A lot of people won't tell you that. If you're in business, what you're paying to get your tax prepared is 100% tax deductible. You understand? So now you're not looking at the cost as a bad thing. You're looking at it like, you know what? I want as many tax deductions as I possibly can get. And it just so happened that my tax preparation fee is tax deductible because I'm in business. Absolutely. Absolutely. Geographical location can also play a part as well. So the cost of living varies greatly depending on where you are located. And the cost of tax services reflects these differences. So if you live in an urban area with high living costs, you can expect to pay more than someone living in a rural location. Certain states may also have more tax regulations, which can lead to higher costs. So that varies. That plays a part. Expertise and experience. So tax preparation prices vary greatly depending on the specific tax professional or firm you choose. Because some people know more than others. Some people are just tax preparers. Some people are tax strategists. Some people have tax plans in place. Some people are CPAs, accountants, and understand certain things. Some people know how to ask you the right qualifying questions to see where you might have been leaving money on the table, or things that you've done throughout the year that could benefit you if you just knew that you needed to be aware of it, and now you're able to claim what you didn't know was claimable, if that's a word. So if you go for a solopreneur with basic qualifications, you'll pay less. If you pick a large tax firm or work with a qualified CPA, you'll pay considerably more. But keep in mind, tax deductible and positioning you to legally pay less in taxes, which can save you hundreds of thousands of millions of dollars in taxes over your working and income earning career. Very important, because many people will work 30, 40 years of their life. You want to have a strategy that keeps you paying less. If you want access to a team that I, suggest that you consider, it's a link in the description. So average tax preparation costs, let's dive into it. So at this point, you might be thinking to yourself, how much can you expect to pay? So individual tax return in the U.S., the average cost for a tax return depends on specific cases, individual taxpayers using a Form 1040. So here's some examples of average costs, different tax return scenarios. Form 1040 with standard deductions plus state income tax return, $220. Just a scenario. Form 1040 with itemized deductions, Schedule A, and state income tax return, $323. So similar scenarios, one itemized, so it's a little bit more complex. On top of the above, there are additional charges for more complex returns that require more work, including the following average fees. So for sole proprietors, those who are individuals who might work a job, but they also have a business, they're considered to be a sole proprietor. If they don't have an LLC, and that's okay, because sole proprietorship is a huge hack to lower your tax liability without worrying about certain legals. Now, it's pros to protecting yourself as an entity, but that's a whole nother video. But sole proprietors and independent contractors, which many people do, falls under the Schedule C. So on top of the fees above, you can add, on average, $192 to that for reporting capital gains and losses. So for those of you who are investing and have different, portfolios that you have generated capital gains or losses from, that's another schedule that'll be added, Schedule D. So there's an extra 118 just on average. For reporting annual rental income and losses, Schedule E, 145. So you can add all of those to it, and it can, run up. But keep in mind, tax deductible. This is something that you needed in order to conduct business if you're in business. So for example, if you're a sole proprietor with itemized deductions, capital gains, and rental income to report, your tax return will cost just under $800 on average, because they just added that up. So if someone is charging you $1,000, then keep in mind what they may be doing, but that becomes tax deductible, and you're able to write that off for the following year. So it helps you in that area. Now, you also have what's known as corporate tax returns. As we've already discussed, corporate tax returns are naturally more complex. So as such, they command higher fees than individual tax returns. The cost involved depends on various factors, including business structure, level of complexity. That said, average nationwide cost of corporate tax return could still be under $1,000, but it could be more, depending on that person's level of expertise, the value that they're giving you. If they're incorporating some type of tax planning or giving you things and tools that you can use, could be significantly more in any area. Just keep that in mind. So, interesting findings out the average cost of other account services. there are some articles on here, but let's dive into the tax preparation fee structure. So another factor to consider when choosing a tax pro is their fee structure. There are pros and cons to different approaches. In some cases, the final price may vary significantly depending on the structure your accountant uses. There are two main pricing structures for tax filings: flat fees, hourly rates. Let's look at them both and we'll see which one best for you and give you the pros and cons. So with a flat fee, the clear advantage is that you know what you'll pay up front. Flat fees typically cover the entire tax return process, including federal and state returns, as well as initial consultations. Knowing exactly what you'll pay has several benefits, including simpler budgeting, greater transparency, no need to worry about creeping fees, fewer issues around trust and efficiency. That said, in certain circumstances where tax returns require additional services to complete, such as amendments, more detailed consultation, you may end up paying more. It's worth checking the tax professional term and condition before you commit to working with them, because if it's ongoing consultations and things of that nature, it could be more. But keep in mind, tax deductible. Your tax preparation fee should be tax deductible. So if you're not in business or have a side business or something like I mentioned before, consider it. Hourly rates is another way that tax professionals choose to charge, by the hour. This is particularly popular in more complex tax cases when it's not clear how long it will take to complete. So tax professionals typically charge between $100 to $200 per hour, but experienced pros and CPAs may charge even more, so it just varies. The major disadvantage of hourly rates is you don't know what the final bill will be. If your accountant spots issues or irregularities that need resolving, the cost can creep up significantly. That said, for simple tax returns, you may end up paying less with a flat fee structure. So choose which one works best for you. So the cost of DIY versus personal tax filing, and we'll show you a chart with the pros and cons, and then we'll wrap this on up. So these days, up to 3/4 of taxpayers choose to file their taxes themselves. That's a pretty high number, either using tax software or manually. The reasoning behind the decision is usually to save on costs, but it's not always that simple. DIY tax filing often comes with hidden costs and not so hidden risks, because you don't know what you don't know. For example, many people use tax software as an alternative to a tax professional, and software isn't always cheap. Then there are risks that come with inaccurate or late filing. So late filing could have its risks if you're not aware of it, and it could cost you even more, including fee or regulatory issues. So whether DIY tax filing is the best choice for you would depend on the specifics of your tax return and situation. So in the table below, let's compare cost benefits, ideal scenarios for both DIY, professional tax filing, and individual. So DIY, doing it manual, see the range is free or minimal cost. The benefits: no fees, complete control over the process. Downside: high risk of error or late filing, time consuming it could be. Very well, I agree. And it's best for experienced tax filers or very simple returns. So if you're an experienced tax filer, it makes sense. You understand what you're looking for. You know how to minimize your tax liability. You might not have certain complex things. You can handle it. Or if it's just a very simple, return, W-2, claiming some kids, you can knock it out the park. Now, DIY software, $0+ depending on the software. Relatively affordable, fast, e-filing, audit protection, you need to be tech savvy, limited capabilities from complex tax return, tech savvy tax filers with simple returns. So this is good for a person who's tech savvy with simple returns. Professional. So with a professional, the cost can be $200 to $800 depending on the complexity, could be more. Expert advice and peace of mind. So you got expert advice, somebody who understands, knows what to give you guidance on, knows what you may be missing, knows what you need to do the upcoming year so that your next year becomes even better. And each year you should be getting better in understanding how to legally minimize your taxes. And if you keep working with the same person, it's pros to that, because they have an understanding of you, how you operate, and now you're getting educated, because it's not really the tax professional that's going to save you the most money. Is you knowing what you can be doing throughout the year, and the mindset of knowing that the money that you spend could be tax deductible in multiple areas, whether that's traveling, whether that's meals, whether that's electronics, whether that's phone bill, whether that's marketing, whether that's miles on your vehicle. All of these things that you're doing throughout the year when nobody is around you, no accountant, no tax preparer, you need to know that these things and activities can likely be tax deductible, so that you are keeping those records. And that's what the tax professional should be helping you do. Now, it may have higher costs, requires trust in a professional, but it can help you. And this is great for individuals with complex tax returns. So hidden costs and additional charges. So professional tax preparers should provide transparent upfront prices whenever possible. In certain situations, there may be some, you may be stung with additional or hidden costs. And in this section, we'll look at some of the examples. So state filing fees, there may be some additional costs to that. Amendments and revisions, there may be some additional costs to that. Audit support. This is where the IRS conducts regular audits, or just knowing that the IRS conducts regular audits on taxpayers' books and records to check whether there are any incidences of unreported income. These audits can be of businesses as well as individuals. So audit support may have some additional fees associated with it. Now, if you're selected for an IRS audit, having a professional representation can make life significantly easier, but it comes at a hefty cost. So that's just something to keep in mind. Some tax software providers offer audit support services as well. So how do you save on tax preparation costs? For one, sometimes you can get early filing discounts. That can save you. Bundled service. If you have something that you're getting from your tax preparer, amongst other things, bundling those services can help as well. Using free filing option, that could save you some money as well, but just understand that you could be leaving money on the table if you're not working with a trusted tax professional. Now, when it comes to choosing the right tax professional, I have a link below that you can consider, but here's some credentials to look for. Tax preparer and tax professional are fairly broad terms. For people with tax or simple tax returns, a regular tax accountant will suffice. If your needs are more complex, however, there are more specialized tax professionals you can engage depending on your situation. So here are 3 key examples. You got CPAs. They're highly qualified accounting professionals who have met rigorous educational and experience requirements. They can help you with complex tax situation, financial planning, and audits. You got EAs, or enrolled agents. They're tax professionals who have passed comprehensive exam. They're authorized to represent taxpayers before the IRS in audits, collections, and appeals. Tax attorneys. Tax attorneys are ideal for complex tax matter involving legal issues such as tax disputes, fraud investigation, and estate planning. But what I like the most is those who have experience in the area of complex tax situations and understanding how to use the tax code and are not fearful of it, especially if they are using the tax code from a business standpoint. They are getting tax deduction, using the tax law to their advantage. They'll be very key in helping you as well. So here's some questions you can ask just so you can get a better understanding of, who they are and how they can help you. What's your fee structure? Do you have experience with the tax situation like mine? Will you be available year round? How long will the process take? So ask those questions and it can help you. But here's some red flags to avoid as well. Guarantees on large refunds. Now I tell people that we have experts that can help you legally minimize your tax liability and maximize your refund. But this is not guaranteeing a large refund. This is saying that with the tax code and tax laws, if you understand how to lower your tax liability, then you get the max amount of refund that you qualify for. Keep that in mind. You also want to be aware of lack of transparency in pricing. Beware of no credentials or inadequate experience, poor user reviews, poor communication. So these are just some things to consider. Hopefully you got some value from this video. Hopefully you understand the costs associated with tax preparation as well as possibly filing late and not having a professional, and understanding that if you do have a tax professional, you can make it tax deductible if you are in business. That's all I got for this video. Mr. Smith signing out. Salute.